Welcome, friends. Welcome once again to Ghosh Company, one of the newest segment of Ghosh Company, which I promised to you, and it's here now. Welcome to GC Talks, and today I will be talking to you. My name is Abhishek Ghosh. So, a lot of my friends has expressed a lot of love that I could see in the comments, in the motivation, and sometimes in the unseen love. That how you're admiring, loving the Ghosh Company. And that's how we are moving. We need this love. So keep loving us and thank you so much for the comments, the posts, the suggestions. You know, one person or one team cannot push it. It's you who are making things possible. So keep loving us, which I always say. A lot of friends also told me that, as you know, we do a lot of audio plays. So where are you? They wanted to see the people behind the camera. So GC Talks is a segment where I will be talking to you and you will be able to see me. And if you like it, feel free to post your comments on the segments of GC Talks that we are bringing you here. GC Talks will not be a weekly event. It will not be a monthly event. It will be a highly erratic event, which means anytime I will bring in a video of GC Talks based on my life, the day which makes me sad, the day which makes me angry, the day I feel extremely romantic, or sometimes if I feel like talking to you, you will be seeing GC Talks. It's about life, and life moves on, so will be this segment. So I'm very excited to actually talk to you today, and I wanted to come a bit early, but finally we are here in the month of August to talk with you. Since the name itself is GC Talks, today I'm going to talk to you about how we talk, or the science of talking simply means communication. And in that light, I will actually tell you a story. And if you are feeling that how I'm talking to you in front of a camera and how I made it possible, uh, this story is about that. It's about that journey. Honestly, I never felt that one day I'll be able to talk to you in front of a camera. I was a very, very shy kid. And I'll tell you that one story of my life that made me believe that anyone or everyone with some certain things keeping in mind can go and talk to people. And it is very important nowadays to talk to people and talk to your near and dear ones because, talking helps, communication helps. When you talk to someone, and if it's a good conversation, you will solve a lot of problems. You will solve a lot of misunderstandings. You will solve a lot of miscommunication. And there will be minimal stress in your life. So sometimes people say, you know, for example, let me give you an example that I'm not talking to that person. We are not in touch, or we had some issues in the office. So that is actually a time actually to communicate. So if you communicate rather than avoiding that person, you will solve things. Sometimes communication can bring in good things, it can bring more fun, it can bring something which is more educational, or something it can stop. Sometimes it can actually stop wars, and there are many examples in history where we have seen that talking actually led to stopping of wars. I wish the world follows these rules and there is no more wars and politics, or bad politics particularly on this earth. So let me tell you that story very carefully. Listen to the story, and if you have a similar story, share it with us on Ghosh Company. So, as I said, I grew up in India, and I went to pretty much most of my, I would say, upbringing is in the city of Calcutta, and which is, if you don't know where Calcutta is, it's actually on the eastern part of India. It has a long history. It's a city which was heavily affected by the colonization of British. It's an old city, and it has its own charm. And I miss my hometown almost every day, even though I'm in Canada for a considerable period of time. And this is my house now, this is my home, but I miss my city. So, this story also is a story which actually took place in Calcutta many years ago. So, As I was growing up, I started going to a school which was in the southern part of Calcutta or South Calcutta, and it was a very basic school. It used to impart a very basic education. It was not a school which was a very high end institution with lot of infrastructure and facilities. No, it was not like that. It was a small school at that time, and I was a student there. And this is an incident when I was actually in grade 4. So that was a time, this was like late 80s. That was a time when Calcutta used to see a lot of, power outages. It was a very common thing that most of the time of the day or one time in the evening for about couple hours or 3 hours or 4 hours or sometime overnight, there won't be any power. And I'm not going into the reasons why was it. So just like now we are dealing with the pandemic, that was a time when people used to know that there will be a time throughout the day within a 24-hour cycle there won't be any power. So we used to take preparations like that. you know a matchstick or a lighter or a candle was a very common thing at the house, just like you have a microwave today. So I was in a school, and in my class there were about two sections, and each section consisted of about 40 to 50 students, if I recall. And whenever there is a power outage, the teacher will not take the class. They will stop the class. And as a matter of fact, these are grade 3, grade 4 students. They will lose track of their mind, and they will create a chaos, and they will shout because they are also. And bear in mind, this is a time when I'm talking about. It's a summer. It's a summer time, and there is no power, and there are 40 kids sitting inside a concrete building. It's super hot, and it's India, and you guys know what Indian summer is. And of course, the kids will lose track. The teacher will go back to the teacher's room and will come back and actually try to basically make the class silent or pacify the class, play some mind games with the students. So for about a moment or two, the class will be quiet. The teacher will leave again, and the class will become chaotic once again because the kids will forget what just happened. So, with that thing in mind, one day something happened. One of my teachers came to me, and she was about to leave the class. And I think at that time, and that in that year, I was a head boy of the class, and I was told to actually put the class in control. How? That's a big question, because I was a small kid too. So I was actually asked to tell a story, because I used to take part in some of the cultural things in school, and I used to do a lot of storytelling and recitation of poems and stuff like that. Not to do for the sake of doing it, but I used to do it. They just spotted it that this guy can probably make the control the class and just go and tell a story. And I took a chance, and I started talking to people. I mean, basically my classmates, and I started narrating them a story. Some days it will be a romantic tale. Someday it will be horror stories. Someday it will be some another kind of thriller. And it was very difficult for me at that age because I never had a script. I didn't have a script at that time, and I was telling them stories, and it was practically an extempore, an impromptu act. And in my mind, I was like, when will the power come back? Because the whole point is, if there is no power for 2 hours, I am a person who is pretty much speaking for 2 hours, because if the class shouts, I will be having the blame from the teacher. Because why are they shouting? I was supposed to stop them or calm them down by diverting their thoughts to some other thing. So in this case, it was my story. So this practice started, and I never realized that this practice was actually working. So the class was quieter. Next day, another story, again a power outage, the class will be quieter. There was a point within a month or two when, of course, the power outages were still common, but when there will be an outage, the students will actually request the teacher that they want to hear my stories. And as a matter of fact, I never had a script. So I used to make my story on the spot, and if I have no power for 2 hours, I'll speak for 2 hours. If the power is off for half an hour, I'll speak for half an hour. And if I know the power is back, I'll conclude my story. So, something like what we are doing today. So with time, the class was fully under control. And also, there was enough followership in today's language. Students will connect and they wanted to listen to more stories because those kids were thinking, I have, a whole collection of stories that I bring in every day and they are interesting and stuff like that. But they never knew that I was actually making them on the spot. Of course, they were from experiences, but they were on spot. So I was also feeling extremely privileged. A kid of grade 4 will feel extremely privileged if he sees that 50, 80 students are shouting and there is a demand for that person to talk about. And I will do that thing. But by doing that, what I was realizing that I was building my capacity to speak, to communicate, to articulate. Of course, with later education, it became more and more better. But I had that practice. And I will tell you here, I was an extremely introverted child for a majority of the period of my life. I mean, I would say till my mid or late teens, I was introvert. And once my parents were actually called into the school, into the parent teachers meet, and the only complaint that they had was, performance wise, it was all good. But the main complaint was your child doesn't communicate. I was not communicating with other students, not because I don't want to, but because I was very introvert. Somewhere I will feel very shy, and I will go and if there is a problem, I will go and hide under the table. That was a type of nature I had. And the only complaint was the child doesn't speak. So my parents actually got a picture that I am not speaking in the school because maybe the medium of my school was English, and I'm trying to bypass speaking in English because I'm more comfortable in Bengali. So the whole blame came upon me that I don't speak English and I have to, make my English skills a bit better, work on it. And for a certain period of time, my parents made it a point that if I have to communicate with them even at home, that will be in English. So Bengali, which is actually my mother tongue, was for a certain period of time, it was practically banned at home because they were trying to polish my English. But the point is different. The point is not about the language, it's about I was not speaking. And then parallelly, this story will also go on. I was actually trying to pacify my class. So over years, I realized that how important is talking. A teacher with scolding, with warnings, with threats could not control a class of 40 to 50 students. I just went there and made some story and told them, and everyone became my good friends, and they started calling me on a different day, and they want to listen to me again. So this thing actually told me that for the first time that this storytelling or this communication has some kind of a magic. And I still feel it. I still feel that it has. And even today I believe it. And I think communication will always have its magic. Another very small incident I'll tell you, which happened actually a few years back when I was actually working as a radio jockey, and it was my first experience to talk to a public audience pretty much from a field of entertainment, because in my journey I always spoke to people from the perspective of my career. you know Going to work and speaking to people is a different thing, but this was a more casual conversation. I was talking to uh, it was a talk show, and one day I was talking on the radio, and I played a song, and I was not talking. That was the point when I got a call, and it was exactly 7 o'clock in the morning. And I used to, it was a big thing. I was doing a radio in Winter in Canada, and reaching the radio station on time was a big challenge because I had to go through a lot of snow and stuff like that because it's Canadian winter. And ask anyone what a Canadian winter is, you will know. But I was reaching on time because my show will start at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I will actually, I would try to reach there like at least 15 minutes prior to the show. I was successful. I was reaching there. I was playing my song and stuff like that. One day, a guy called me. He was a person from Haryana. Actually, he had a very strong Haryanvi accent. So I took a time. I took some time to understand what he's saying. And he told me uh, that in his accent that he actually drives a truck in Canada. He drives a truck and he actually starts his ignition key at 7 o'clock in the morning and he leaves for the job. And it's a big, big truck with cargo and other stuff which are getting delivered at some other part of the city. So it's a huge drive for him. And that person being a driver, his only motivation is the radio. And his only motivation is the songs that we are playing and probably the news. I used to give the news and the traffic information. You know what the RJ does nowadays. I don't need to tell you. But he actually told me a very important thing. He told me by calling me that, I don't have a watch and I don't think I need a watch. So I was like, why? I mean, you probably, you might be earning good amount of money. Why don't you have a watch? He told me that my first word in the radio program was his watch. So I never knew it. I will speak out my first word exactly at 7 o'clock in the morning. At 6:59 a.m. I was ready. My mic is on. I will start spelling out my first word at 7 o'clock. And this fellow sitting some other corner of the city will actually start his truck, he start his ignition by his cue for 7 a.m. was my voice. Although it's a very simple incident, but what I learned from this incident that how important it is to be punctual and at the same time speak out at the right time, because I'm just going there to do my show and I'm a punctual man, but my punctuality and my talking is actually helping someone else to be on time on his business. If I don't speak, this man will assume that something happened to me. And actually, he called me one day where I started with a song at 7, and he's like, "Are you okay? Are you there in the studio? Or you fell sick?" So I said, "No, I'm there." And I realized there is a very high value to communication. And that's the message I would like to give you today. So, if you have a problem in life, if you feel that there is some kind of a problem that you are facing, definitely try to communicate. And I'm sure, absolutely sure that the kind of magic that I felt in my life from the people who were my listeners, you will also feel that. And I'm absolutely sure that you will feel that. So, and if you're a shy kid, if you are an introverted child, don't worry about it. Everyone can do it. You can do it too. So, definitely try it out. I will be back and bring more stories to you just like this on some other event of GC Talks. Take care till then. Bye bye.